What was supposed to be a calculated gamble turned into a franchise-altering result. George Pickens arrived as a high-upside complementary piece. He left the season as one of the most dominant receivers in football. That shift alone forces a reevaluation of Dallas' long-term priorities. Because when production changes, leverage follows. And Pickens now holds plenty of it. Dallas did not acquire Pickens expecting him to carry the offense. They expected volatility, splash plays, and occasional frustration. What they got instead was consistency, efficiency, and weekly dominance. His statistical output placed him firmly among the league's elite. More importantly, his impact correlated directly with wins. That is the kind of evidence front offices cannot ignore, especially when playoff margins are thin. The presence of CeeDee Lamb initially lowered pressure on Pickens. That dynamic turned out to be a gift rather than a limitation. Freed from defensive focus, Pickens exploited single coverage relentlessly. Dallas suddenly had answers against coverages that stalled them in prior years. Explosiveness became sustainable, not situational. And the offense evolved from predictable to dangerous. That evolution has a price tag. Pickens' transformation also reshaped the locker room narrative. Questions about maturity and consistency faded with every dominant outing. He didn't just flash talent. He stacked performances. That matters more than raw numbers in contract rooms. Teams pay for reliability under pressure. Dallas now sees a receiver who delivers when defenses adjust. That changes everything. The Cowboys' offensive ceiling rose in direct proportion to Pickens' usage. When he was quiet, the offense struggled. When he was unleashed, Dallas controlled tempo and scoreboard. Those splits tell a story numbers alone cannot. They reveal dependency, not just contribution. And dependency creates urgency. Urgency drives expensive decisions. This is no longer a debate about whether Pickens is good. That conversation ended months ago. The real question is how far Dallas is willing to follow this bet. Because once you confirm a player is foundational, hesitation becomes risk. And risk is not something contenders can afford. Not after a season like this. Not with a window this open. Franchise tag leverage and the illusion of control. On paper, Dallas holds all the cards entering the 2026 offseason. The franchise tag offers immediate control over George Pickens' future. A $28 million cap hit is steep, but manageable in isolation. The tag buys time, not certainty. And time often favors elite players, especially ones coming off career-defining seasons. Pickens understands that math. Tagging Pickens prevents him from testing the open market. It also delays resolution rather than securing stability. History shows that prolonged negotiations rarely reduce cost. They simply shift tension forward. Dallas has lived this cycle before, and the scars from those standoffs remain fresh. This is familiar ground. The transition tag presents a cheaper alternative. But cheaper rarely means smarter in high-stakes negotiations. Using it would invite outside pressure and poison dynamics. Dallas knows that, which is why the franchise tag feels inevitable. Yet inevitability does not equal comfort. Because every tag creates expectations on both sides. Pickens' market value already exceeds tag numbers. Open market projections push beyond $30 million annually. Those figures aren't speculative. They reflect league-wide scarcity. True difference makers at receiver reset economics quickly. Dallas cannot pretend otherwise. Delay only inflates perception, and perception becomes reality in negotiations. There is also the silent trade leverage factor. Pickens is too valuable to let walk for nothing. That alone gives him indirect power. If talks stall, Dallas faces unappealing alternatives. Trade him for picks and weaken the offense. Or absorb tension and hope for compliance. Neither is clean. The franchise tag solves today's problem. It does not solve tomorrow's. Dallas must decide whether control or commitment better serves them. Because elite receivers rarely accept prolonged limbo. And when patience expires, leverage flips quickly. The clock may look frozen, but it is already ticking. No Cowboys contract discussion exists in a vacuum. Representation shapes strategy as much as production. Pickens being represented by David Mulugheta adds a familiar layer of complexity. Dallas remembers how previous negotiations unfolded. So do fans. So do executives. History lingers. Mulugheta has consistently advised clients to maximize market exposure. That philosophy clashes with early extensions, especially when leverage is peaking. Pickens has every incentive to test boundaries. A single franchise tag season could elevate his value further, from elite to generational. That possibility matters. Dallas, meanwhile, is wary of another public standoff. The Micah Parsons situation is still fresh in memory. Extended negotiations invite distraction and narrative drift. They fracture focus inside a contender's locker room. The Cowboys want resolution, not headlines. But desire does not dictate outcomes. Leverage does. If Pickens chooses not to play on the tag, pressure escalates fast. Holdouts are rarely about money alone. They are about respect, security, and precedent. Dallas cannot afford another prolonged stalemate. Not with expectations rising. Not with the offense built around timing and chemistry. Disruption carries cost. This is where philosophy meets reality. Does Dallas prioritize control or harmony? Does it reward peak value now or gamble on future leverage? There is no neutral path here. Every option tilts risk somewhere else. And Mulugheta is adept at exploiting hesitation. That is part of the game. The Cowboys must also consider optics league-wide. Players watch how stars are treated. Agents remember who drags negotiations out. Reputation influences future free agents. Dallas wants to be seen as serious and decisive, not reactive or reluctant. This deal tests that image. Ultimately, the agent factor doesn't doom negotiations, but it removes shortcuts. Dallas must negotiate from conviction, not comfort. Because elite talent paired with elite representation rarely settles cheaply. The price will be market-driven. The question is timing. And timing defines power. Why Dallas can't afford to get this wrong. George Pickens is no longer a luxury. He is structural to how this offense functions. Removing him alters coverage dynamics immediately. It shrinks the field for everyone else. Dallas learned that lesson the hard way in previous seasons. Depth cannot replace dominance. And Pickens offers dominance. Committing long-term money carries risk. Every major contract does. But failing to commit carries its own consequences. Dallas is chasing championships, not balance sheets. Windows close faster than teams expect. Elite receivers extend those windows. Letting one drift creates regression. The predicted 4-year, $133 million deal reflects reality. It aligns with market trends and positional value. It also signals belief in what Pickens has become, not what he once was. That distinction matters. Dallas is paying for consistency, not projection. And that is defensible. Delaying this decision only complicates future flexibility. Cap numbers inflate. Expectations harden. Risk compounds. The cleanest solution is rarely the cheapest, but it is often the most stable. Dallas values stability more than most. From a competitive standpoint, there is no alternative path that improves the roster. Drafting another receiver does not replace Pickens' impact. Trading him signals retreat. Tagging him indefinitely invites dysfunction. Only a long-term deal aligns ambition with reality. Anything else is hedging, and contenders don't hedge. This offseason will test Dallas' discipline and clarity. The noise will be loud. The stakes are real. But the conclusion feels inevitable. Pickens fits this team's identity and timeline. Walking away would be self-inflicted damage. And the Cowboys know it. In the end, this negotiation is not about numbers. It is about direction. Dallas has found something rare. Now it must decide whether to secure it. Franchises are defined by moments like this. And so are eras.